Alright, hey guys, what's up? And welcome to the second entry in my video diary of the 2018 Atlantic International Film Festival, or FIN. Here's the booklet once again. For, some background on this festival, you can refer to my first entry of this, the one covering the Sisters Brothers. So, on Sunday afternoon, I attended my next feature, Ash Is Purest White. There's the ticket. A Chinese film. Not exactly a crime drama. At first I thought I guess it's a bit of a crime drama, but more of a straightforward drama, because it does involve members of the Chinese underworld, and it does drive the plot, but it's less focused on sort of the crime aspects. Okay, so, I hadn't heard anything really about it when I was going into it. It was just the idea of seeing a Chinese film that maybe had some gangsters in it just appealed to me, because I have kind of a background in that. I'll be a little more on that later. And that was sort of enough for me. Plus, I always like the idea of seeing foreign films in the theater. It's not something you really get a chance to do too often, so I wanted to get at least one. So we start with Ash Is Purest White, which, sorry, I'm trying to flip to find something that I forgot about it on here. But yeah, also, okay, well, just so I have the director's name in front of me, Zhao Tao. That's probably a horrible mispronunciation, but it's the best I can do on this one. It's 150 minutes, so it's fairly lengthy. I don't think it really felt that way. So, really, it's about Xiao. Again, that's some bad pronunciation on my part. A female character. She's the protagonist. I think she's in every single scene. It's her story, and it starts out in 2001, and she is the girlfriend of, it seems like, sort of somewhat of an up-and-comer in the Chinese underworld. I don't think they're really a big outfit. This isn't in a place like Hong Kong or Beijing or anything. I forget the name of the place they're in, but it's some sort of like industrial city. Its main industry seems to be mining. There's some stuff in the background there about governments perhaps taking over mines or closing mines. I'm not exactly sure what was happening there. I can relate to that a little bit growing up with Cape Breton, where you had a lot of protests and stuff, and people trying to make appeals to the government to keep the mines open, because that was the big driver of industry there back then. So there's a little bit of that, not that that's that important. And we do get a scene where we see that her father's sort of at the forefront of this. He's even broadcasting on some sort of pirate radio station, denouncing the government and talking about how they need to keep control of their mines and keep them open and stuff like that. Anyway, it starts off, like a lot of these underworld things, they've got like a back room in some sort of place. This isn't a nightclub exactly. I don't know what it is, some sort of like event center, and there's some sort of show going on. She goes into the back room, and there's the various guys. I don't want to call them triads, because again, I'm not really sure if they were. I think this might be a little low tier for triads, so we'll just say gangsters, whatever. But again, not like a big, super organized or super powerful gang, but one with at least some influence. And her boyfriend, Min, who's he played by? I already lost it. It might be Fan Liao. But anyway, sorry about that. I'll have to check on these things later. Anyway, he's at least something of a mid-level boss, and he's very well liked by the other men there with him. One of the early scenes we see is he mediates a dispute between two men, and one even pulls out a gun during the discussion. Now, guns drive the plot in this, although not, in an action sort of way. And you get this part where after the dispute is settled and the gun is on the table, Xiao herself picks it up and just sort of examines it fondly. And you see that she's just sort of living a pretty contented lifestyle. I don't think she works. She just sort of gets her money through the criminal organization and through BIN, and it's a comfortable life, and she's well liked, and everybody really likes her and stuff. What's funny is, okay, so I always have these moments because I'm such a know-it-all, and I always want to, show off that I know things or whatever. I can't help it. It's always been in me ever since a little kid, one of those annoying kids at school that always raised his hand if I knew the answer. I really wanted people to know that I knew. It's not very charming, I know. But anyway, so I had to see this movie alone because it was just an afternoon show on Sunday. and a decent sized crowd. Therefore, there were some Asian people in the audience, but I don't think there was really more than I'd see at a lot of Hollywood shows. But I was kind of looking for it to see if maybe more people of Chinese descent had come. Some certainly had. But anyway, so soon after the opening scene, you get a cantopop song starts playing, and I recognized it right off. I was 99% sure that it was the song sung by the woman who winds up being blinded in the John Woo classic, The Killer, which would be played several times in that movie. And I was sure it was it. And I just wanted to tell somebody, but I couldn't tell anybody and stuff. And actually, just a little further in the movie, it was confirmed, basically, because it shows them watching, it shows that group together watching that movie, so it's kind of funny. And there's even a later line where she accuses Bin of watching too many gangster movies. This is, somewhat more real world than a John Woo film. It's not full of shootouts. So anyway, what eventually happens is, after we're shown sort of, again, the way she's living, fairly contented, fairly well liked. We see that Bin is an up-and-comer. He has some contacts with some legitimate businesses, and it seems like he's a guy that's going to go places. Anyway, one night they're driving back from somewhere, and their car gets ambushed by, I guess, a rival gang, motorcyclists, and Bin goes out to handle them. Now, Bin owns a gun, and there's an earlier scene where he's out in the country, and he shows her how to fire it. And this is after she had told him, that they're illegal, they could get you in a lot of trouble. You should get rid of it. And he just says, in this life, you really need it. But he doesn't take it when he goes outside, even though he's badly outnumbered. They beat up the driver first, and he holds his own. It's a pretty decent choreographed fight. We see that Bin is a tough guy; he can hold his own. But eventually, they overcome him, and they start, pounding on him with their motorcycle helmets right up on the hood of the car. And she comes out. It makes a split decision. Comes out. She fires the gun in the air twice, and only points it at them. And this pretty much saves his life. And yet, still, because of the way gun laws work in China, it is an illegal firearm, and because after she's arrested, she wouldn't say that Bin was the owner of the gun. She insisted she owned it. She winds up doing 5 years. Now, the movie, I'm not trying to give a blow-by-blow account of it or anything like that. I'm just trying to... So, really, that's the crux of the movie. It's supposed to be about how things change for her while she's in there. The movie does not focus on her time in prison. We get one scene where she's in prison, and they show us that it's a pretty harsh place. But I get the feeling, I don't know if it was important to the plot or not. Maybe it's irresponsible of me to speculate. But I wonder, if the script had wanted to show that maybe she was being abused in prison. The usual prison stuff. Tough inmates picking on her, or corrupt guards beating her down. None of that is shown. And part of me wonders if you're allowed to even do that in current day China, because the prisons are a part of the government, and it would be a critique on the government to show if they had sloppy or corrupt prisons. However, I can remember that back in 1990, one of Jackie Chan's lesser films, because he's not even the main guy in it, there's called Island of Fire, which is all about a crazy prison where it's super corrupt and the guards make the prisoners fight each other and stuff. But then I'm thinking, well, that's so over the top that nobody would really buy it anyway. Whereas this is supposed to be somewhat real world. So I don't know. I don't know what the story is on this. In any case, it doesn't focus on it. But the point is, Bin only did 1 year for his time, 1 year of time for his role in the event, and she winds up doing the full 5 years because she loves him. And it's all about how when she comes out, how things have changed for her. Relationship-wise and things like that. And it also shows how somebody who had been living the life she had, if she's not connected to it anymore, she has no skills or anything really to get, say, a normal job and survive on her own. So she has to use the skills that she has to survive. And some of it moves around a lot. Now, this is where I wish I had a bit more knowledge about China. Now, I think I have more than the average person who lives over here. I had a Chinese girlfriend for several years. And I think I absorbed a lot of knowledge and stuff about their culture and stuff, plus movies. And I think I'm better at geography than most people, but I wish I had a better understanding of this whatever area of China they're in the geography, because she's traveling usually from place to place, usually by the train, and they talk about this city, that city, and this province, and I didn't know where these places were in relation to each other, so I didn't know how far she was going or how much time it was taking. It's not a huge thing. You don't really need to know to understand and enjoy the movie, but it kind of bothered me because I wasn't really sure just how far she was traveling and stuff like that. Anyway, it's not a big deal. So as it says, a story of love, betrayal, and loyalty set in China's underworld. Yes, but kind of less emphasis on the underworld. So of course there's a time jump. There's the 5 year time jump, so now it's 2006. there's one more time jump in, like, say, the last 10 minutes of the movie that jumps it all the way up to now, the 2018. If I have one complaint about the movie, which I thought was very good, it all hinges on the lead actress and her performance, because it's all about her, and she's really great at the coming across as a deep character that you're interested in and really want to see how things work out for her. And I think a lot of audiences could root for her and get behind her too, because she proves herself to be fairly resourceful, loyal, a lot of admirable qualities. So my main criticism is this is a 2.5-hour movie. I think it moves fine, it doesn't feel slow, but once you get to that last time jump, I don't know how necessary it is, and then it doesn't even feel like there's a definitive ending. It really talks about how after she gets out of prison, there's a long time where she doesn't see Ben, then she does see Ben and it doesn't go well at all, and then there's another gap, and then towards the end, she's with him again years later, and a lot has changed. A lot has changed for him as much as her, but they also sort of wind up back in the same place, which I'm sorry, I guess is kind of a spoiler, because they do, except now both their roles are greatly diminished. Ben still commands a certain amount of respect from those that remember him, but the younger guys don't know who he is, and they don't care. And anyway, from that point, from just a few minutes after that, the movie just sort of ends. It just sort of stops. I didn't feel like it was a definitive ending. But still, there's a lot to like about the movie. It's great, I think, from a foreigner's point of view, just to get a good look at China that isn't just Beijing or Hong Kong or stuff like that, or set off in the mountains with kung fu monks either. It's just sort of like the in-between China, the lesser-known cities, the industrial places. You get a lot of different landscapes, from country places to urban places that I really enjoyed seeing. There's some time on a ferry, it talks about the crazy urban development that goes on in China and has been going on, with their crazy billion-plus population. She's going on a ferry through this area, and the announcement is saying how, like, within a few years, this whole area that she's looking out on the banks, where there's a whole bunch of buildings and homes and stuff, that's all going to be underwater because they're going to flood it as part of some sort of development program or something. I hope I didn't misunderstand that, because that was my understanding of it. Anyway, there's not too much to say to get too much into it, but I'm definitely glad I saw it. The director Zhang Jia has done other things that I've heard his name, but I've never seen one of his films before. He's not too old. I think he was born in 1970. He's been active since the late 90s. He did a couple. I think his last two were quite well known and well acclaimed, and I probably should have written them down, had them ready to talk about. But yeah, Ash Is Purest White. So yeah, if you're looking for a Chinese gangster film, this isn't really that. This is more of a drama that just happens to have underworld criminal stuff in it, which is important. But again, there's only one real sort of action scene. The rest is very just much a drama following this woman and her trials and tribulations and stuff about relationships and how they change over time. And I think that's sort of the universal thing that makes it appealing to any audience, really, is that it just sort of shows how, no matter what, things change. And we, as people, have to adapt to that and change with them. And it's often very difficult. And, hers is a more extreme situation, having been in prison for 5 years. But I still think there's a lot of relatable stuff there, too. Even if, it's not like I ever hung out with a criminal gang or anything like that. But I think there's a lot of relatable stuff in there, too. But, again, what really makes the movie for me is the main character. She's really great in the role. She's not like a strikingly pretty woman or anything like that, and that's not important. It's not about that. I mean, certainly she's good looking enough. What am I saying? All I mean is, sometimes they just go for, especially over here, actresses that are, bombshells and stuff like that. Now, she's just more of an average looking woman, and I think that's good in a way. It doesn't distract from the plot. It feels very real world in that way. Ash is Purest White, where does that come from? They're talking about volcano ash. When they're out in the country, they're looking at a volcano, wondering if it's active or not. So it has some sort of, poetic moments to it, too. I've been trying to think of what other movie I could really relate it to or make a comparison, but I don't know. Even though, obviously, there's plenty. Because it has just such broad strokes as far as the way the story goes. Again, change, adapting to change, relationships to change, etc., transformation, development. It applies to most movies, right? Unless they're, some sort of niche genre. But yeah, so this is a drama, more than a crime drama. It's a drama, but it uses a bit of a crime drama backdrop to get things going. But actually, see the picture here that shows the gang all together. that's where they're watching The Killer. They're all in a room together watching The Killer on TV. It's pretty funny. So it's a nice sort of shout out to the gangster films of yore. Yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. There's no point in going over and over again. So oh man, so when I went to see, so I saw The House that Jack Built last night. So that's going to be the next one we talk about. And that should be interesting because, yeah, I mean, if you haven't heard about it, Lars von Trier with Matt Dillon, serial killer. A bunch of people walked out at its premiere, the festival before. You know, Lars von Trier has quite the reputation for being kind of extreme and going over the line. So I was very interested in seeing the movie. And that'll be the next one I do. But when I was there, the man that seems to always be around to introduce the movies, he's super enthusiastic. I mentioned him in the last video, and he was there last year too. He was the one talking about his first experience with Suspiria back in the 70s when he managed a theater. Anyway, he was talking about how Gaspar Noé had a movie that was being played tonight, and I thought really long and hard about seeing it. I've decided not to see it just because I'm seeing two on Thursday. One is going to be Grave of the Fireflies, the lesser-known Studio Ghibli film, you know, not by Miyazaki, but by the other guy whose name is Takahara. I love it, and I own it on Blu-ray, and I've seen it quite a few times. Super awesome, moving movie. So you know, I have to see that when it's in theater. I jump at the chance to see it. So I'm very excited about that. And the movie I'm seeing that evening is by the same director. I'm sorry, I should have marked off these pages better. Sorry about that, guys. Is by the same director who had done It Follows. And I don't... Okay, so here's the movie he was talking about, the Gaspar Noé movie. Climax. There's the picture. It doesn't sound like it's going to be extreme in the same way as something like Irreversible was, which of course had a very brutal rape scene. This is supposed to be like maybe really trippy and hallucinogenic. It sounds crazy. It's about like a dance troupe for having some sort of party after the rehearsal, and then things just get all crazy and seem like LSD stuff. Anyway, he highly recommended we see this movie, said it was not to be missed, but I don't know. Can't see everything. There's the entry for Grave of the Fireflies, and you see the other two movies I mentioned before, Belle de Jour and Solaris. I'd like to see them both, but you know, I only have so much time and money to devote to these things. So, Under the Silver Lake is the name of the other film I'm seeing by director David Robert Mitchell, the guy who did It Follows, which is described as a delirious neo-noir fever dream about one man's search for the truth behind the mysterious crimes, murders, and disappearances in his East LA neighborhood. And it has Andrew Garfield. Anyway, that sounds like something I'd be totally into. So that's going to be the last movie I see at this year's Atlantic Film Festival. As I said, the one opposite page there is Shoplifters. I really wanted to see that, but I had to make a choice between that and The House that Jack Built. So maybe some way down the line I can see it in some other way. It's too bad I won't get to see it at the theater. So yeah, so I've got a few more of these to go, and I hope you guys are enjoying them, doing something a little different on the channel, since I don't usually talk about movies on my own channel, but I thought I was kind of in a unique position to do this. So yeah, The House that Jack Built is coming up next, and then we've got two more to finish with. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hopefully the volume is better. I know on the last one my volume was low. Hopefully I have corrected that issue. We'll see. Alright, until next time, guys, thanks a lot for watching as always. Peace out. I'll see you soon. Bye.